Being estranged from my mom, it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with, to grieve, to go through, to self reflect on, to process. You know, my mom and I used to be cool. I used to look up to my mom. Like, I always thought my mom had standards. I always thought she cared about me. She had my best interest, that she wanted better for me and better for herself. My mom always encouraged church. She always took me to church growing up. She slowly conformed to dysfunction and her own choices. She gradually stopped having standards and needs, stopped having self respect. She stopped having personal boundaries. She was just internalizing so much bitterness and so much resentment from her own life choices and her own toxic marriage. Her life became a mirror for her unresolved pain. It shaped her behavior and how she treated me. Mom wanted to have structure. It seemed like she wanted to have structure in her life. It seemed like she had some self-awareness about her life and her dysfunction. Somebody that was increasingly defined by her dysfunction. So frustrating because it was a complete shift in her energy and her just way of being and how she treated me. Let her home habits slide. The house has always been a mess. Stopped caring about her health and her standards. She turned into the person that she used to criticize. Started sleeping on the couch because my stepdad would sleep on the couch. So she just started conforming. Started buying junk at flea markets. And the flea market was something that she just never had interest in. She started hoarding and defending a life that was unhealthy. The worse she sank into her dysfunction, the worse I was treated. She resented the TV. TV was escapism, was surrender to distraction. It was the very thing she used to judge, the TV. Started bonding with my stepdad over the TV and projecting her judgments onto characters on the TV. Used the TV as a shield to avoid real relationships and emotions, and she felt justified in her criticism. They would point to characters on the TV and say, "Oh, that's you," or "Oh, that's Amanda." That's not bonding, that's projecting. A reflection of the toxicity you carried in your marriage and in your life. They would dismiss me, they would mock me, instead of seeing me as somebody with actual feelings, with an actual heart. They would constantly undermine my confidence in subtle ways that would be like jokes. They cemented me in a scapegoat role, justify mistreating me. Mom never held her own ground, she just conformed to his way of being. Bonding through dysfunction, bonding through hoarding, bonding through buying junk and at the flea markets, surrounding themselves with clutter instead of building a healthy life and a healthy environment for their kids. They built piles of junk together. It was both a literal and symbolic mess. The worse my mom sank, the worse I was scapegoated. She dumped all her resentment that she was actually feeling in her marriage onto me. Abuse intensified. She used to see flea markets as something hillbilly, like above it. She used to go to church. She used to have her own separate identity. She gave up intimacy. She gave up her own needs. She just joined him on the other side of the couch. Started going to flea markets and hoarding, abandoning her old standards. Cycle of escapism and negativity, and there was no growth. She just reinforced each other's stagnation. The more powerless she felt inside because she was conforming to him, unconsciously conforming to her own mother, one that she would call crazy all the time. Instead of facing that, she started to take all her frustration out on me because I actually had power and independence and standards. I became the scapegoat, abused and mocked, and with no protection from her. And so, you know, a few years back, I lost my ex-boyfriend that I was with for years, who I loved. I have gone through a chronic illness, and like I had no one to be there for me. She couldn't be there for me through all of that. So of course there's resentment, there's anger, there's trauma. This isn't to attack her. This isn't that I don't forgive her, because I know what she has going on is something that is much deeper than just being a bad mom and not being there for me. My mom has literally became the thing she hated, like her own mother. Rage, the neglect, the abuse. There's no common sense in it. It doesn't make sense. It's just cruel. It's just mean. She absorbed those patterns, whether she realizes it consciously or not. That's when my mom just stopped being somebody that I could trust, stopped being somebody that's safe for me, doesn't deal with her own feelings internally. She just projects them, whether that's onto me or onto the TV. Has antisocial traits. She isolates herself. Never had an actual friend as long as I've known my mom. She hoards. She abandons her standards. She has a lack of empathy. Can't form authentic connections with people. Hoarding, the self-neglect, fixation on the TV. This is just symptoms of a withdrawal from life, kind of giving up kind of thing, just coping, emotionally shut down, helplessness and regret. Past trauma, her resentment, her bitterness, her narcissistic tendencies, all tied into one. Is living with unresolved pain from her husband, from her toxic marriage. I had to emotionally accept the reality of my mom. She's not safe. She's not healthy. When my stepdad threatened me in 2022 and ran after me, I had a flashback when I was a kid, and he would run after me a lot. And it was intimidation. I was scared. It was aggressive. My brain and body stopped in that moment during that fight. And I realized this isn't just dysfunction. This is dangerous. And she blamed me for my stepdad's threat of my life. She was absent as a loving, protective parent in that moment. That mom that I thought I could rely on, that was stable, that was safe, that had some self-awareness, emotionally capable parent, that's gone. Gone. She's gone. I'm not being cruel for stepping back. I have to protect myself. Can't let her sickness keep harming me. Being blamed for something I didn't do. I didn't do anything. Her toxic marriage, her choices gave me trauma. Her choices impacted my sense of safety, impacted my life directly, impacted my mental health. Instead of taking responsibility for the pain she caused me, shifted blame onto me. She scapegoated me. It's like, huh? I love my mom to death. I've always had my mom's back. Why would she do this? Why would she turn on me? Why would she scapegoat me? Always try to cultivate joy in my life. I've always tried to give myself a happy life and enjoy my life. Yet she repeatedly undermined that with neglect and abuse and projection. Her cruelty, talking bad about me, not protecting me when I needed it most, taking me out when I needed support the most, when I needed to find my footing, when I was vulnerable. It's a pattern in toxic choices. She couldn't really be a parent in the way that mattered for me. It doesn't excuse the real pain she caused, even though she's sick. Everything that she did and said to me, all her unresolved pain and her choices, I didn't do anything to my mom. I always wanted to make it work with my mom by expressing how I felt and being extremely vulnerable, trying to get her to see my side and see how I'm hurt and how I'm being treated, and set up boundaries like, hey, I don't feel safe. And instead of being protected and met with empathy, it was just more rage, more blaming, resentment, the scapegoating, trying to control me and punish me in ways. She just wanted to offload her suffering onto me, and it's sad. She wanted me to feel the weight of her toxicity, her bitterness, when I've already lived a lot of my own life and I have a lot of my own pain dealing with. I've already faced my own struggles. I've taken responsibility for my choices and my life, and I grow and I become better. I've worked hard to create a life for me that's healthy, making better dating decisions, making better decisions about the people in my life so I don't get hurt, and living a life that's fulfilling and having God in my life, right? Healed what I could. Built myself up by myself. Not fair or healthy for her. Be an echo of the pain that I survived in the past that I thought I escaped. Her dysfunction is a burden to my life. Trapped in her rage and her bitterness, it became the very thing she hated in my stepdad and in her own mother. Became abusive and cruel. Her toxic marriage, her anger, instead of facing her pain, she scapegoated me. Her kid that loved her the most, loved her more than anything, let her house fall apart. Completely lost herself, became obsessed with TV, something that she absolutely hated. I've always tried to create a life for myself that I love, take responsibility for myself. She just keeps adding to my pain. Never modeled healthy living, repeating patterns of avoidance and dysfunction, scapegoating me while letting her sons off the hook, failing to protect me, failing to teach them responsibility. She just retreats into bitterness and escapism. I was just trying to connect with my mom, love my mom. She was too caught up in her own pain and issues to provide it. You want to talk about the good old days with my stepdad? It was abuse, plain and simple. It wasn't a happy time, so stop lying.